People are going to be like, why are you? You're never late. Whoops. I hate being late almost as much as I hate being, I don't know. Let's just put it this way, Leroy. I think that if you expect respect, you better give it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's the only thing I care. It's the only thing I care about. Holy crap! We got a caller already. My Lord.
Wow.
Caller, where are you from?
Nice.
All right, hold on one second, David. All right, I got to get him, get his audio kicked in here.
Caller already on the line.
I know. I can't even get to the monologue. It was like, fine. Hold on. All right, let's see.
David.
Sound.
David was the name of that evil robot in Prometheus. David.
I'm the one that said I should call in.
All right. Well, I'm glad you called in, David. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was just seeing about what you thought about the circus. I guess it's a Republican action about the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Rounds.
Sure.
Was it 19 rounds? I think it went.
15, right? 15 rounds in total.
Yeah. 15 rounds of votes.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 rounds in total. Here's the funny thing, David, is I just did a show on it that just posted like 10 minutes ago. It's right below this. I can't get the sound. Hold on. Somebody says. Chevelle, if you can't hear it, just leave and come right back in. So, David, I just did a show on this, and I'll give you the high level of what my thoughts are. I think from in its entirety, I said it wasn't about the Speaker of the House position. It wasn't necessarily so much that they thought they were going to oust McCarthy. I believe that they felt that they would be able to get some things passed that would ensure that McCarthy would be neutered, so to speak. He has voted with the left on many things, or at least not voted, but has simply stood down and refused to stand his ground and challenge as the minority leader. So why would he do anything different as the majority leader? I know Eli Crane promised that he wasn't going to vote for him when he came in. And I know this from Eli because he mentioned this on the show when he was on the show. I had one other House of Representative who I will not mention because I don't have their permission to do so, who also was giving me information on what they were doing. And they felt extremely disrespected before the midterm as the Freedom Caucus, and then after the midterm felt even more disrespected. And the Republican leadership didn't do anything until they realized that the vote for McCarthy speakership would really come down to the Freedom Caucus. And the holdouts understood that they held an immense amount of power. So they had demands, and the Republicans did not listen to them. They did not hold them in a serious regard. And very similar to what I was talking about with Leroy, did not give them the respect that they gave to the Republican leadership. And it just shows you, in my opinion, that we have been screaming for one person to make a difference. And we've all said that it's impossible. Well, you just saw it. Eli Crane went in there as a freshman Congress. They don't even have his picture up yet. They still have him in the baseball cap and polo that I have him from. He gave me as a headshot for his campaign for the podcast. They don't even have him in a suit yet. And this guy literally stood his ground till the very end. And as he turns his back to walk out, literally hand on the door as the 15th vote, which decides everything, and says, not present. And walks out and drops the mic and doesn't vote for McCarthy. I just talked to Jen. I'm trying to get Eli on the show. I talked to his agenda. I'm getting him on. I don't care. I'm like, dude, I need 45 minutes of Eli's time. I want him live. People want to ask him stuff. This is where we're at. That's a long answer to your question, brother. Leroy?
Yep.
I would completely agree with all of that. I think that what has happened largely is that with the new members that have come in, right? We're starting to see. I mean, you could say what you want about, everyone wants to see a united party, right? But is that necessarily? I mean, is that really what we want, or do we just want the best representation? And so, I think that this idea that Republicans need to stand unified and should have voted him in just because Donald Trump says so. No, I don't agree with that at all. People need to think on their own and to be held to a consistent set of standards for which our congressional party and our Senate, our members are taking into account. So I like the idea that there's a bunch of people who are not content with a status quo. I think that that's a refreshing, and the guy still ultimately won, fine. But I'd like to know what the concessions were. And I've been, admittedly, I've been unable to keep up with a lot of what those concessions were because it was talked about in the news, but I don't know what they were.
Well, I happen to have them for you. So would you
imagine that?
Yes. Would you like to know? I guess I could show you the show, but I won't do that because we don't need to do that. So let me show you the concessions real quick. And then David, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are as well. And I'll just show them to you to make this completely easy for everybody. Here they are. Well, that's not the one. Did I close it? Hold on. Delete and go in the notepad. Bam. I wrote them all down. Maybe I didn't. Okay, I'll just give them to you. It's going to be a lot easier. Here they are. Now I got to go on Twitter. Gosh darn it. All right. So, you think I know these by heart by now? There were 7 of them that were on the record. And here they are all in their beautiful glory. And I've got the picture up so everyone can see. Subsection B and C. These were consideration of 7 bills. And it's my understanding that they just passed. It's that they all just passed right now. I haven't heard if they did strike down the IRS agent, 87,000 agents. I believe they struck that down too. But like Kevin McCarthy's getting to work and he's doing exactly what he said he was going to as of now. But here they are. There's a bill to rescind certain balances made available to the Internal Revenue Service, which we know. A bill to authorize the Secretary of Homeland Security to suspend the entry of aliens and for other purposes, which is the 1.7 trillion that was spent went to 5 Islamic countries for their border security and none for ours, to rescind that order in the omnibus bill. A bill to prohibit the Secretary of Energy from spending petroleum products from the Strategic Oil Reserve to China and other countries. A bill to amend the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act to direct district attorneys and prosecutor offices to report to the attorney generals and for other purposes, stopping the progressive attorneys from literally making their own decisions on how they handle the inmate population and crime. A bill to acquire the National Instant Criminal Background Check System to modify U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the relevant state and local law enforcement, whenever the information is available to the system, indicates that a person illegally or unlawfully in the United States may be attempting to receive or purchase a firearm. It's great. A bill to prohibit taxpayer-funded abortions. And a bill to amend Title 18 to prohibit a healthcare practitioner from failing to exercise the proper degree of care in the case of a child who survives an abortion or attempted abortion. So instead, no indiscriminate killing of a fetus that obviously, or a baby, let's be honest, who survives the abortion attempt. And there should be some sort of, even if the mother wishes the baby who comes out at stillbirth to be resuscitated, the doctor still has to follow their Hippocratic oath at all times. That, to me, doesn't seem like a power grab. And by the way, Dan Crenshaw has been unseated in his congressional seat on a congressional committee for Department of Homeland Security. And he has been replaced with Freedom Caucus member. I can't remember his name. I will give it to you, Mark something. And that's because Dan Crenshaw supported red flag laws a couple of years ago, made a mistake and said something stupid. Yeah. Well, guess what? He just did it again. He called everyone a terrorist and extremist, and that was stupid of him. I even said it was stupid. I tweeted it out, but I don't think it should end his career. He voted with Republicans 94% of the time, but the crowd have spoken. You're done.
Sure, that one item, that one hot button item that will, especially in Texas, that will sink a career.
Yeah, should have shut his mouth. I mean, and that's... that's what it is. All right, David, I apologize for rolling over you, brother. It was David, correct?
It is.
All right. So David, what did you, hopefully we answer your question. What did you want to chat about?
No, I'm the former armor guy that you wanted to have a call one day.
Okay. Well, what exactly led it, what led it to that?
Well, we are talking about some of the people were talking pretty much the same thing. Except for my take on all this is, I think it's a good thing. What we all just with, it shows that the party not just all in line like they were for Nancy Pelosi on the Democrat side. That's not healthy, and I think it's good. And I think the real thing for McCarthy is I think he sees now that he's literally just a few votes away from a recall type deal, as it were. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, the speakership, can anyone name a speaker who's been defrocked or dethroned in the middle of their term? I can't.
I can't think of one.
No, he's been given up.
David, you're breaking up in and out, buddy.
Yeah.
So David, were you and I arguing or something online, or did I just say, hey, you should call in and we'll have a conversation?
No, you wanted me to call in. You said, I got to get this guy to call in.
Okay.
It was last week when we had some guy talking about, I don't know, he was a Democrat, I guess, a young person that was very naive in the discussion. And
oh, yeah, you had that amazing comment that I thought.
Yeah, I said something.
Okay.
His connection.
Well, that's what. It's okay. His connection is bad, but that's all right. David, I appreciate you calling in to us, man, for sure. Well, listen, man, I think McCarthy is exactly like I said. He's neutered at this point. He'll be on the precipice where if he decides to go, see, here's the thing. The speaker should represent the legislative body. The speaker shouldn't direct the moral compass of the House. Their job is to run the majority and whip them into shape to ultimately vote for initiatives that need to happen. His job isn't to present the moral compass. He is to find out what the consensus is on a piece of legislation and find out if more states support that than don't. If more districts support that than don't, and then whip them into shape to get on the same voting record. It's not literally to control the government from the House like Nancy Pelosi did.
Right. Exactly.
And he's on notice. I mean, and that's going to stay going forward, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. David, appreciate you calling in. We're going to get to some other
David.
topics too. Thanks for calling in, brother. We'll talk soon. Okay.
I'll talk to you off show.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Give me a ring anytime, man. And we'd love to have you call back in again. We'll get that connection working a little better. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Awesome. I'll call in 1-804-504-1955. We're taking calls right now. We were talking about respect. And before we get into a little bit heavier of stuff is I think it's okay for people to, what's that? Oh yeah. RESPCT.
Franklin.
I think it's okay for people to disagree. I think it's okay for people to argue. I think it's okay for people to butt heads. I think all those things are okay. But I think if you're going to get into not a relationship, but a practical working relationship with somebody, I don't care what your title is. It could be boss, it could be CEO, it could be janitor. There's a modicum of respect that people deserve if they are going to go ahead and toe the line for your company. And employees are not mercenaries. It's not like you give them money and then you just literally, feed them shit and keep them in the dark like mushrooms. Your employees, you owe them a responsibility of keeping your word and fulfilling your promises. And if you don't do that, I expect them to hold you accountable. And I would expect to be held accountable. And my first reaction would be one of contrition versus one of puffing up like a bantam rooster. The reason I bring this up, it's not important. It's just a little situation that was taking place, which is why I was late. So I want to apologize for me being late. It is what it is. And I promise I won't do it to you again anytime soon. I hope. I'm very rarely, maybe 5 minutes or so. But I do apologize. All right, Leroy, what do you want to chomp on tonight?
Oh, there's been so much that has happened in the last 2 weeks. And literally, I've been unable to just keep up with everything, mostly because of my own personal schedule. But I mean, to your point, the 15 rounds of votes to get McCarthy in, just tonight in the news. I heard this on both CBS News and on Newsmax, that it was reported that classified documents were found on Joe Biden's premises back from when he was the VP, and nobody seemed to know about this. Right. It was like discovered that they were there, and then, good on the Biden campaign or the Biden, staff for self-reporting and basically saying, hey, look, we found these. We know we, probably shouldn't have them. And what's the process to get them back? So on that note,
kind of. Except they found out right before the midterms and didn't say anything until after the midterms, Leroy.
Right.
It's kind of what happened.
Well, and so my big point is, for all of the people that were ready with pitchforks and torches to go and, level Mar-a-Lago, I'd like to see that same level of do we hold the same level of accountability to the guy that you support? Are you going to do that?
Well,
I'd like to know.
I think if you put it the way you put it, it makes Biden look extremely innocent. And I don't think that's what happened at all. I mean, everything I've heard is that this wasn't a, let me throw ourselves on the sword situation. It was more like, we found out November 3rd, let's hold this and not leak this during the midterms. Right. And let's wait until January where the current House is out and it's a lame duck anyway. Nothing's going to get done, and then drop that bomb. That's what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. And so there's a big part of this that is like, the timing is very suspect, right? Sure. But in the meantime, anything that happens to a Republican, when it hits the media, everyone, to my point, grabs their pitchforks and they're ready to hang the guy. I'm just looking, are they going to do that now? Or is it just, no, there's, it's going to be a typical Hillary Clinton move. She didn't mean it. It's okay.
Right. By the way, if you don't oil your knives, folks, it's absolutely essential for any good quality knife. You got to oil your blade, because this blade, I've had this thing for 16 years. 20. This has been with me a long time. And I'll tell you, man, it's not spring loaded. It's just, if you oil the blade, they last forever. Anyway, so squirrel. Here's the thing that I will say. I'm going to hold the same to hold true that I did with Donald Trump. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care that the president of the United States has top secret documents or the vice president of the United States has top secret documents, because as I said with Donald Trump, you're not always at the White House. If you don't have to be in the Oval Office to do your job as president. It can be done in the residency. It can be done in Air Force One. It can be done at Camp David. It can be done at Mar-a-Lago. It can be done in Rehoboth. It doesn't matter. And I didn't care with Donald Trump, and I don't care with Joe Biden.
I only care to the point that the hypocrites that are out there
hypocrisy.
aren't reacting the same way.
Right.
And it's only because they share that political label. That's my only concern. I don't give I don't care what he had in his closet. I don't care.
Yeah. You and I agree. And so I'm not going to sit here and play and be a hypocrite because I defended Donald Trump ad nauseum over this. That's all I care about is the hypocrisy. That's it. And if you're going to hold Trump accountable for this, which you know they're not, because you haven't heard crap about this since November. And the reason why is because they know damn well that if they try to hang Trump for this, they're going to have to go ahead and hang Biden for this.
Right.
Right.
Same thing with the Clinton emails. Same thing with every other leak that has occurred. Yeah. God, you know what would happen to me? You know what would happen to me?
Oh, how about us?
They'd throw away they'd lock me in the prison and then throw away the prison.
They would have buried you under the prison.
Yeah.
Dude, we would both be in Leavenworth. I mean, it's you. I still tread cautiously on stuff that's probably been unclassed for 20 years. And I still am like, you know what? Last I heard and the last debrief I had is this was still classed. So I'm not going to say anything. It's funny when I watch Jack Ryan or Terminalist, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe been declassed. Right. I'm like, some of that stuff has been declassed. Some of the programs and the intel collecting programs and spying, I'm like, holy shit, this stuff's out in the ether. That's amazing. But anyway, it comes down to this.
We were watching, I just got to throw, this was hilarious. We were watching, and I want to say this was on the FX network. It was a series called The Old Man, and it had Jeff Bridges in it. And in because there's only been one season. Episode 1, there was this device that they stuck under the dude's Suburban, right? And so, that's the other dude, John Lithgow's in it. And so he calls Jeff Bridges to say,
such a good show.
Look, this was a new one on me. It's a completely different ball game, but this little device, what it does is it looks for your cell phone signal so that they can tap that. So you don't even have to, it's like they didn't even have to know what the cell phone number was because they have another device on there that will get the number. It was
right.
And I was like, and they let that out?
Yeah.
That's scary.
So if you haven't seen The Old Man, watch it. It is absolutely epic. It is so good. It's Rooster Cogburn meets Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy slash I don't know what else. It's just good. All right. So the next thing that frustrates, but not frustrates, is you got to look at this package that has been passed. 220 to 213. Tony Gonzalez of Texas voted against it. You know, this is where Republicans stand pat. You know, nobody should have broke ranks on this stuff. I mean, and that's the thing that Republicans have to stop doing is once they decide to get behind a piece of legislation, they should all support it. The time has passed. You already just argued it. This was already done for 15 ballots against McCarthy. It was to get this list done or not get this list done. There's no reason to vote against it. But it looks like the rules that they put in place and asking to get these done and the changes on the floor have already taken place. The thing is that this actually holds McCarthy into a very difficult position because it limits his ability for discretionary funds. So what's deadly about that is that if something needs course correction, and those dollars aren't allocated effectively and proportionately to pieces of legislation, McCarthy can't just snap his fingers anymore and just say, oh, well, we need more money. This is going to be great for Ukraine. This is going to be great for any of the other things that, like trout farming and salmon runs, to ensure that they're effectively allocated across the Pacific Northwest and bullshit like that. But it also creates a little bit of a pickle where if you are in a situation where you need funding for emergency relief or something to that effect, it might tie things up, which can ultimately reflect negatively on Republicans. And this is where the Republican majority has to stand pat and agree upon that certain amount of pieces of legislation or funding have to get pushed through quickly with very little opposition, especially when the clock is on the line. So for an example, would be Louisiana, or there's a hurricane, or there's a fire in California, or flooding in Houston, or whatever. You want to go and bail out the airlines again, whatever it is. Republicans are going to have to get behind those things and identify early and often before they get into that situation, so they're not sitting here and looking like a bunch of idiots.
Right. Well, and I think it's always been an easier sale, right, to say, look, we need to divert some funds to Louisville because of this natural disaster. That's an easier sale than to send, $1 million across the pond for a study on the mating habits of the local,
Ugh.
hawks. If it's something that is tangible to the United States, it's always easier. That can be seen at least through the lens of, all right, we're going to help this particular group of people. Hopefully that will turn some votes and hopefully turn some lives around.
Well, it's yeah, and somebody said on chat that that's not necessarily true in regards to the voting. Yes, it is. It is necessarily true. Nobody should have disagreed with those rule changes. Nobody. And there's not one Republican. It's limiting government. That's your entire platform. Every single thing that they passed was limiting the government and the power of the speaker. That is important. I'm sorry, I disagree. Any Republican that challenges it is not a Republican. So sorry, completely disagree. I don't know. Dana seems to be a little bit behind here. I don't know if she's talking to you or she says, true that, Leroy. And I don't know. I don't know what she's referring to. Folks, if you're going to talk to the animals behind the cage, maybe tell them why, what's true about what Leroy said, because pretty much everything that Leroy says is true. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
I didn't. Okay.
Well, that was some weird shit.
So David Crocker says, I was talking about being a command and control superintendent holding. Yes, that's right, David. David was on here. Leroy, you weren't on, but this guy did command and control for top secret clearances, 27 years. He protected SCIFs. This guy did a lot of stuff. And we were talking about the Ashley Babbitt shooting, and although horrific and sad, because any veteran, any person dying is horrible, we had a little bit of an argument again where people said that when Ashley Babbitt went through that window, that therefore the officer shouldn't have done anything and just let her pass, or use mace, or try to use some sort of other countermeasure that wasn't lethal. And my argument was that wasn't his standing order. His standing order was to stop any threat in the proximity of him or anyone else that he was sworn to protect. And the moment they encroached upon that barricade that said "no more, none shall pass," and they Gandalfed it, those officers are not there to protect and to serve. They're not there for you. They're there for the politicians, and they're there for the HVTs.
Yes.
So, or the NGOs. They're not there for you. They're there to stop a threat, and that's the difference between defense and offense. And when you take a look at like CIA is an offensive agency. You look at the NSA, it's a defensive agency, passive, supposedly. Well, when you look at Capitol Police, they are a defensive agency. They're not necessarily there to protect and serve. Go ahead.
Exactly. And you know what? And that's pretty well, I guess I assumed that was kind of a standard, like everyone knew that, just because if they're the Capitol Police, right, they're not going They're not out there issuing speeding tickets, 16
Right.
blocks away. They're there to protect the politicians and the worker bees inside. That's what we want.
Correct. All right, go into this thing in Brazil. I want to get your. Okay. Well, first of all, let me talk about one thing.
Right?
Yeah. Well, let's do this first. Iran sentences 3 more protesters to death for waging war on God, despite global criticism. Now, I want to talk about this one. Donald Trump, the Iranian government, just released the arrest warrant and surmised his execution order from the Iranian government for Donald Trump for the Soleimani killing.
Right.
And Soleimani, if you don't know, was a general for Iran, was a spiritual and militaristic leader who had been linked to many different killings of soldiers all over the world, not just the United States, Israeli troops, Iraqi troops, Kurds, Saudi Arabians, all over the place, and was a bad dude to all accounts, but a hero in Iran. An absolute hero in Iran. And I did a show on this guy, and Trump essentially, whether you agree or disagree, essentially assassinated him. And I don't consider that. I consider it what you would call a two or a toe, which is a target of opportunity for any type of intelligence agency or an HVT, high value target. And then his classification is to stop, kill, or capture, right? So, or stop, capture, kill. So you would stop him and detain him. You would capture him and hood him up and bound him, or you would just kill him. And obviously Donald Trump moved to he's a target of opportunity that is a kill target, high value target. And they did. And everybody is like, of course, Democrats are like, oh my God, they're outraged, right? They're like, it's murder. It's we don't do this. And even though
they schwacked a terrorist and leave it to the Democrats to get upset about that.
That's correct.
The dude was literally trying to figure out how to make bombs and get them into your mailboxes. Right. And you're upset. Right.
So, well, of course, Democrats are upset because anything that Donald Trump does is evil. Somebody says Ashley Babbitt is the only one that died a casualty on January 6th. Well, there were other casualties, but you're using casualties as in death. Well, I know, but words matter. Yes, she is the only death. That is absolutely correct. You are right. Although officers did die, that it wasn't necessarily related to January 6th, although you could say from a PTS standpoint and traumatic stress and mental breakdowns that some of these guys had, yes, and also physicality. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. You're right. Nobody died from January 6th except Ashley Babbitt. But going back to Iran is when you look at this, okay, so let's take that into context. Donald Trump has an arrest warrant out for him, and is to surmise his execution is what Iran's calling for. Something that will never take place, something that will never happen. And it's literally just, it's window dressing. It's just designed to be done as a cause and effect. Now, I want you to go ahead and fast forward, and I want you to think about what happened with the World Cup and how Iran was responsible for essentially murdering a woman who took off her hijab and her burqa and put it on the ground, and others did, and they ultimately murdered her. Then a player from the Iranian national team stood on a burqa during opening games. Well, he has now been sentenced and tried to be executed. They are killing a soccer player on the world stage who millions of people, 100 million people watched play soccer. They are now killing him. And they have the balls to lecture us about a wartime target, which was a high priority target, an HVT, which was a casualty of war. Even though we're not at war with Iran, we are at war with terrorism, and he was a terrorist. And this is who the left decides to cozy up with and want to do a Iran nuclear deal with. What the shit?
Right. Well, and so, all right, I've been around the block. I've seen plenty. Back when Matt was in the Navy, he was probably very familiar with. They have videos that they can post on certain systems that are not available to the public, and they're videos that are sometimes they're media bites that come out of Russia, this kind of thing, and sometimes they're out of Iran, and again, these are not available to the general public. This would be specific for people in the IC. And so I've seen so many videos over the last 5 years, 10 years of Iranian soldiers pitching people off of the top floor balconies because they didn't agree with the person who said, I'm gay, or something along those lines. This is not the nation that the United States would turn to for some sort of moral compass.
No.
This is completely not that country. This is a country of oppression and evil. I mean, a lot of it is evil. And so I don't feel the need to defend them in any way. They should not be giving advice to anybody, and nor
It's
should
so
they
hypocritical.
be making threats.
It's
Nor
so
should they be
hypocritical.
making threats. The moment a country like that issues a threat, they should immediately be. There should be some sort of message, maybe not action, but a message that says basically go pound salt.
Yeah, like this administration would ever do that to stand up for. I mean, what would be the line, right?
Right.
Right. I believe, and to the NSA and to the Secret Service who are about to come on, this is a hypothetical situation. So when you listen to this, please understand. But I believe if there was even an attempt on 45, that I don't know if you would get the outright sympathy / empathy from the Biden administration saying, listen, these political lines can sometimes be divisive. There can be a lot of emotion, but there's never, ever any reason to commit violence against. I think they would say that about Steve Scalise. I think they would say that about McCarthy. I think they would even say that about Mitch McConnell. I don't know if any news agency or anyone in this administration, I'm sure Jean-Claude Luc Pierre would get up there and say it for Biden, but I don't think Biden would come out and say it himself. What do you think?
Right. I would agree with that. I think that would be nobody can really trust necessarily to keep that Joe would be able to, put together a cohesive thought in front of a mic and millions of people without a teleprompter. So I think a lot of that does get passed through the press secretary, who is just god awful at her job.
Yeah. Rick says, disappointed you're not interacting with the Rumble live chat. Thought I'd grow your group over there. Not one other individual is posting comments, maybe because you're not interacting. Rick, I've tried. Understand that Rumble is an extremely limited situation, and I am streaming to multiple platforms. Rumble doesn't allow me to broadcast chat here. So I interact with all chats. I'm interacting with YouTube right now, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, but I can't interact with Rumble. But you're over here and I read what you're saying. So I'm very sorry, bud, but there's nothing I can do. I would have to keep open another window, and I've already got 3 displays full, right? So I've got Matrix going on here, and until Rumble allows integration of chat from Restream, I'm kind of in a pickle. So, dude, if you want to chat with me, it's real. I hate to say it, just come on to Facebook, tell anyone there. But, dude,
or
Rumble,
call in, man.
Rumble's impossible to grow, by the way. I've tried. It's honestly, they're just as hard as YouTube. Everyone goes, go to Rumble. It's so easy. No, it's not. Literally, if you look at people like, what is it? Something Spears. What's his name? Randy. Who's the guy that's funny orange hair guy that you and I love so much who makes
Bill
fun of
Burr.
vegans? No, long haired. He's a conservative humorist. Something Spears.
JP Spears.
JP Spears. JP Spears channel's nothing over there. Go look at Clown World. Clown World is nothing, and they're really popular. In fact, I'm almost as big as Clown World, and they're huge on Twitter. He's got like 149,000 followers. So Rumble has its little network of people who they like: Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, Russell Brand, and they don't want anyone else. I'm telling you, man, I don't think Rumble is all that in a bag of chips. Everyone says it is, but it's impossible to grow on there, and I'm not paying any money for it. So I was going to do a funny skit, Leroy, but first I want to show this video. I've been getting a lot of shit for my take on Ashley Babbitt, and you know what? I don't care. I'm never going to. There is no evidence that could come out that would make me say that something else should have happened other than what happened.
Agreed.
I can see it with my own two eyes. It's, if you're in the military, you understand what operational security is, OPSEC, or you don't. If you know what OPSEC is, you understand. If you don't, then you can't possibly understand what took place. You're thinking of it in myopic viewpoint of civilian police. This is not what that is. These guys are there to defend and protect their high-value assignment and mission, period. But we're going to watch this because a lot of people haven't seen it. And for viewers, this is a little graphic at times. Okay, so here's the first thing. And I want you to look. You see representatives right there. James McGovern, there's a few others right there in a stone's throw. This little area has been chained off, has been barricaded with multiple chairs and benches and everything else, and it's reinforced glass. See all the chairs?
Yeah.
And you have 3 guards that are there. And those guards are various Capitol Police, ERT. Okay? ERT. And they are being threatened. This is an angle you probably haven't seen. I've seen all of these videos. Yes, I've seen all the angles. I've done shows on all of them. There is nothing that will convince me that this wasn't justified, but I'm going to show it to you and you can tell me. These 3 guys, this guy right here is punching through glass. They are being threatened. All of them, Chris says there's no threat. Yes, there is, Chris, because you haven't seen this video then. That's the funny thing about people is that they don't
cocked back clearly,
punching the glass, breaking the glass, and then you'll hear them verbally threaten these officers, and they say, "We're not here for you. You need to get the F out of the way. If you don't, I can't promise I can protect you. We're not here from you. You need to F and go." Emphatically, multiple times, telling them to leave as they are breaking the glass. There's Ashley Babbitt right there. Everyone says Ashley was pushed in. She was just an innocent bystander. Bullshit. Of course you haven't seen this video. None of you have seen this video because you don't watch my show. And I've been telling you for a fucking 2-year time period to go watch this show where I already litigated this case. And I will keep showing it so people can hate on me. You haven't seen a lot of things on January 6th because all you do is watch Fox News. Stop, explore, and find out. There were peaceful things that happened. They let them in. Yes, there was horrible overreaction to a lot of things, but there was absolute 100% a riot going on in subcontext throughout this whole thing, and you haven't seen it because you don't choose to watch it. Punching the window right there, just broke the window. That is a threat. That is a violent action happening right next to that officer who is sworn to protect that area, but his mission is different. He's not Capitol Police. These are civilian police officers who were brought in a much different situation than the guy beyond the door, who is Capitol Police, and his job is to defend. Let's effing go. Let's effing go. Get them. Let's effing go. That's what was just said. Then you've got another guy, and this is the one guy trying to stop it. He's all the way up in the front here, and he's saying, chill out. He's trying to stop them. He's like, we're not here for them. We're here to protect. We like the police. We care about the thin blue line. There were people. Someone told me last night, Angel said there weren't 150 people. You're wrong. All the way down the right-hand stairwell, it's loaded with people. All the way back here and across the balcony, it's loaded with people. There were 150 some odd people ready to storm that room. Right there, you see 30.
I just can't.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. You're good. I just can't see a scenario where somebody can argue that this wasn't a violent mob, given the fact that they're using coat hooks and pieces of furniture and everything to literally break down doors, break glass. How is that not a threat?
John
Really?
Paul asked the question, why was no National Guard? Because it was never done in writing. Because he said it afterwards that it supposedly was said. And yes, there has been insiders who don't want to be named who said that he said it, but that's not how you request the National Guard. If you're requesting from a mayor or governor, it has to be done in writing. We're not going to continue to litigate this. Watch the damn video. Or call in and have this argument, because I'm willing to have it with you. Break it down, break it. By the way, you're saying that these guys right here are sworn to protect. You're right. They're sworn to protect the officials, not you. They are Capitol Police. They are Sheriff's Office. That's different. Sheriff's Office and regular police protect and defend. But if you do something illegal, their job is not to let you do it. What are you talking about? You're trying to break into a secure area that has been barricaded, and this is the last line of defense. They have been told to shoot to kill if anyone enters.
Right.
And you warned several times by these officers who say, guys, you got to stop. You got to stop. You got to stop. And nobody is listening. Dana, I don't care if, so let me get this straight. So you're okay with Hillary Clinton going in and the servers? You're okay with Benghazi because it was instigated? She didn't do it. Do you understand what you're saying? I don't care how convincing Ray Epps was. I don't care how many FBI or Antifa were there. Why did you listen? Why did people listen and continue to do this shit? Stop making excuses for criminals. Why don't you go ahead and defend Michael Brown? Why don't you defend Trayvon Martin? Why don't you go ahead and defend George Floyd? Why? Obviously, we understand why. Because if you resist arrest, you're saying that that cop feels like he is in jeopardy, so therefore he was justified. Well, what do you call this?
Right. Exactly.
So why are you protecting it simply because it's on the other side? This is the hypocrisy, not just in the media, but in y'all. I'm not saying it's justified, and I'm happy that she's gone. Honestly, I am so frustrated with the Q and the Anon people and all the bullshit that took place for people going into little Anon followers. I think that completely screwed up so many people's minds that they didn't listen.
Absolutely.
And she was absolutely obsessed with it, folks.
Because the way this is being portrayed on CNN and every other left-leaning site is that the people that broke in on that day were QAnon Republicans. And that's how they're billing it. They're saying these people were outer fringe Republicans. These people were pick another group, Republicans, right? They're making this out to divide them from the people who were breaking in. And as well, they should, but so should you. You need to condemn the violence that happened on that day just as much as anybody else.
That's right. And if you don't
defend these people.
Nancy Pelosi cannot request the National Guard, folks. That is a presidential order. Otherwise, it falls within the mayor or it falls within the governorship. It has to be a written request. I understand you've heard these things, but you're not listening. And I keep hearing, Matt, you're always right. Matt, you're always right. And now all of a sudden I'm wrong. Why? Why am I wrong? Just listen. There's Ashley Babbitt. She is in the face of the police. She is screaming at cops. Screaming at cops. This guy comes in and tries to stop it, not Ashley Babbitt. And he gets in front of Ashley Babbitt and the other ones and tries to say, stop, whatever. He almost gets his ass kicked.
These guys ain't the ones that's
There you go.
Wow.
Democrats.
Wow.
Wow. Republicans saying F the blue. These are who you're defending. This is what you're defending. What's wrong with you? And if Ashley Babbitt, okay, so Ashley Babbitt's not Antifa, not an FBI plant. Can everyone agree with that? Because everyone's horribly sad and all that. Why didn't she turn around right then and say, enough? Why didn't she flip the switch? Folks, you can sit here and say that you don't understand this. You can sit here and do all the usual suspects in my chat who are pretending that they don't get it. And they're like, oh, blah, 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 the media, and it's Q and it's Anon. And folks, you have fervently defended Ashley Babbitt, and I understand because it's tragic, but you're making shit up.
Right.
She was not yelling. You just heard her, Debbie. What, Debbie, why can't you listen? What is so hard about listening to her screams? Listen again. We don't want to hurt you. We just want to go inside. But that's not what they're doing. She is literally calling him a freaking sea sucker, and you're like, she's trying to help. Come on.
These guys ain't the ones that fuck the blue! It's the motherfuckers.
We want you to go home. I'm recording.
I want you to go home. And she just screamed out, get the F out of the way. This is the person who's saving people. You guys are completely wrong.
And there's so many people.
She's not yelling, stop. Debbie, please. That's not what she just said. I've got it in my headphones. Leroy's got it in here.
Yep. No, she's on the attack.
She's instigating. Will you please stop? She believed that the election was stolen. She climbs through the window. Why are you defending this?
Push her way up here. Bro, I see people out there get hurt. I don't want to see you get hurt.
I've seen people out there get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. They're telling the police move or else. They're giving him an ultimatum. And for all the people who said it was a peaceful protest, why are one of the protesters saying people were getting hurt if people weren't getting hurt? I'm not saying that this wasn't a complete kerfuffle. I'm not saying that there was peaceful stuff going on. I'm not saying that it was all horrible. I'm saying that you're denying that this was a riot in some cases, and it was.
Right. Absolutely. Look at the broken glass behind that guy. Of course it was a riot.
We're not even close yet. The violent shit hasn't even really started. It's all words. We're going to make you a dead ass, and we don't want that shit. That's what was just said.
That's what I'm saying. We'll make a path, bro. Please, just let us make a path. Just let us make a path. When the whole country hates you, I want you to go home. Go. Let's go.
When the whole country hated you, we had your back. Then the cops leave. They mic'd up. You heard them mic. Were told to surrender their post. They surrendered. They left. Why? Because it's getting out of fucking hand. Then the guy's like, let's go, let's get in. And then everybody starts storming.
Get this shit.
Now, she says, Max, stop right there, whoever that is. I have no idea why. Now, wait.
No! There's a gun! There's a gun! There's a gun!
There's a gun.
They warn him there's a gun, and that is that person's job. Finger is not on the trigger. Glock is pointed. That's being assaulted. You have multiple police officers downrange taking defensive positions along the adjacent doors. Why? Because the threat is going to come for the right, and you're going to make yourself as small as possible with giving yourself a line of target and trajectory of shooting. You've got multiple positions. 3 positions with 3 armed guards right there. So if the first one fails and gets overtaken, the second and the third can go ahead and exchange fire without being in line of fire of others. This is standard operating procedure. This is a defensive move. Go ahead, Leroy.
There's a question out there that says, why didn't they gas the place? I have to assume that nobody was really prepared for this riot, like in the moment, right? And so when all of the crowd started ascending on the doors and breaking things down, nobody was really thinking, is this riot control or is this defense of the people inside, the politicians? And so I would be willing to bet that there's a very different loadout that one would carry in case of a riot. That's when the police show up in any of these other riots that we've seen, in the last 6 years, where they show up with water cannons and tear gas and everything else. I don't think they were prepared for this. I think that the only thing that they had in the armory on that day were standard issue, just like what Matt's talking about, M4s and Glocks.
And this guy is suited up. He still have his gloves on, right? So this guy was obviously outside, whether he had terrorists or whatever, but he was called to a forward position. But this guy was doing outside duty of some sort. He's got full weather gloves, a long coat on. He only probably has his service revolver. He's not rocking a PR-24. He's not rocking mace. And even though, folks, their job, that's the speaker's lobby. The Speaker of the House and people would be secure in this area as a last line of defense. That's why it's barricaded like it is. They have the ability to have door jammers that are there that can only be removed from one side. They could have made this was so rapid response. The 3 Capitol police officers that I talked to all had different orders. Some were told to defend, some were told to just let them pass by because they were going to be nonviolent, and others fought with their lives.
Right.
Karen's going, where is this? What's happening? People haven't seen this footage. I showed it to you over 2 years ago. 15 seconds before they pull trigger. Gun, gun, gun. Everyone's screaming gun. They know. And she goes in anyway. Don't tell me she was pushed in. Finger is still off trigger. Off trigger. She climbs, folks. She is not pushed up. She climbs up and traverses. That's her.
Climbs into, pushes through a door like that with a Glock pointed at you. Who does that?
That's right. She knows she's not being pushed. The difference between being pushed and being helped up and assisted are 2 different things. She goes in. Everything that you have been told and everything that you're saying is a lie. It's a lie. And you may be over it, but the reason you're over, Cheryl, I know you're over it because you understand. But there are people who are still spouting this nonsense out there that she was a victim. I feel horrible that she's gone. She's an Air Force veteran. I have worked tirelessly to help save veterans' lives. And God, I wish that maybe she would have watched my show and heard some of these things and picked up the phone and called. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and say that that officer was not justified. That officer is not a judge and jury. That's not their job to find out what's on her. He's not a metal detector. He's not a scanner. He doesn't know if she has a bomb, doesn't know if she has a grenade, doesn't know if she has a gun. And if he goes down, not only does he fail his mission, but then creates susceptibility for everyone past him, including his brothers in arms who he works with. For you not to understand that means you never served a protective detail in your life.
Right.
We're going to finish watching this and then we're going to do final thoughts.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Now you got SWAT. You got full M4s. You got optics. You got suppressors. You've got literally about 1,500 rounds that just entered. And SWAT arrived too late.
I'm just going to point out that they used an M4, it looks like, to defend the people's house.
Yep. And an MP5.
So that whole argument about semi-automatic rifles being shouldn't be allowed, clearly it works. I don't know.
Well,
You tell me.
a fully automatic M4. I mean, that's a whole nother argument. Hold on a second. Let's finish up. I am so tired of hearing this stuff. And I understand your outrage and I understand your frustration. But it's really important to get the facts straight. How many of you have never seen that before? A lot. Because a lot of you just said so. I've never seen that video. I've never seen that at all. Well, the reason why you haven't seen it is because the channels that you're watching don't want you to see that. They want you to see the back half down the stairs, which only shows a little bit of the story. You haven't seen the punching of the windows and the smashing of the glass and the violence and the threats to those officers, have you? There needs to be an accountability of everyone involved. The officers who were beaten, the officers who just let people in, the officers that abandoned their posts, and the people who tried to storm the speaker's lobby and ultimately take hostage people who were there. And we know that that was the legislatures. For you to say that that's not true, it's a lie. It's a lie. Because you knew what they were going to do. The government was never under risk of being overthrown. That is a lie. That is the media, and it's bullshit. What do you think was going to happen? They were going to sit in the middle of the frickin' floor, start campfires with all the chairs, sing Kumbaya, and the American government was going to be like, oh, well, we lost it. Screw it. Call back the carrier groups. Let's hand them over. Here's the car keys to the nuclear codes. Folks, it was never at risk. What is at risk is the continued left and right attitude towards January 6th, where both sides need to shut the fuck up and admit that it was abhorrent and never should have happened. And there is equal accountability on all sides. That's what needs to be said.
You know, right after this, military, the entire military had to do a safety stand down. And I love that word, stand down.
Right.
So they gather everyone in a room, and they basically start hashing. They start telling everyone, all right, you guys need to be ultra cautious of your social media account. If you're a far right winger, you need to, remove all of that crap off. One like off of, onto somebody else's post from somebody who is a right-leaning Republican, right, could be enough to end your career. And you're like, wait, what? I wasn't there on January the 6th. Those people should be held accountable.
Right.
And so it's like there was this line that was drawn to basically say that everyone who leans right has some culpability, has some level of responsibility in this. And that's just not true.
Ridiculous.
That's not true.
And there were 57,000 some odd who were peaceful and went home that night, including a lot of my friends and listeners who just went down to hear Trump speak. And 2 hours into it, some of this was going on. Folks, to blame Donald Trump for this is now Donald Trump stoked the fires. But if you're going to say that he let the fire and the coals roll out of the fireplace and burn the whole house down, you're full of crap. Yes, he said some things he shouldn't have. Yes, he stoked the fires of this. Yes, he propagated a lot of this and gave it credence. But to say that he made people do something is just as bad as people saying that January 6ers were made to do something by the FBI or Ray Epps. Come on, folks. It's time to condemn it. It's 2-year anniversary. It's time to condemn it. Everything about it. From the left, the media, from the Biden administration to the investigation to the Ashley Babbitt. The one thing that should never go away are the people who are being held without due process and habeas corpus. Those people deserve a safe, fair, and speedy trial, and they deserve their day in court. And if they are guilty, they should rot. But until that day, that is the one thing we should focus on and be outraged. They deserve a trial. Now,
we as Republicans collectively, this is the one thing I think that probably we should all get behind, is to condemn violence like this. And I don't just mean just when it happens on our side. I mean to condemn violence like this in its entirety. And I don't care where it comes from, be it Maxine Waters saying that they need to, you push back on these people, or that other
I don't even have it anymore.
Wanted to, if they kick low, we kick them high. all violence like that needs to be condemned because it leads to this shit.
That's it. That's it. That's all I am saying. And you can have multiple opinions on this. You can have it's okay. You're not a traitor if you go ahead and call out what the right owns or the ultra right owns and what the left owns in this. There is plenty of blame to go around in January 6th. It's not just one side. The left has propagated this and used this as political fundraisers. This stuff needs to be addressed. I've seen every angle of that video. I just showed you 4 different angles. It wasn't the same video. It switched multiple times. And I can show you the downstairs one too. I've seen it. And people are like, well, you can't find this footage anymore. Bullshit. You can find it on my channel everywhere. You can find it on Facebook. And my wife and I have just downloaded 560 videos and backed up. It's now on a server that I own.
Folks,
and it's free from being
subscribed.
It is free from being subpoenaed without, or it can have a warrant put up against it, but it is 100% self-contained. It is not to be, I own it. It's mine. And I am putting up every one of my videos in case YouTube tries to pull that shit again. But you can see this on Facebook. It hasn't gone anywhere, folks. I've been telling you to watch it for 2 years. All right, I feel better.
Feel better?
I feel better. I guess Diamond and Silk. I feel horrible, dude. One of the Silk sisters passed away.
Oh. I mean, the passing of anyone is always tragic to hear about. Honestly, I don't know who that is, though. I'm sorry.
Diamond and Silk. They were huge Donald Trump supporters. They've been on Fox. They kind of got, they're like female Hodge twins.
Yeah, I do know who that is. Okay. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. She just passed away. Lost a true angel. Oh, man. Warrior, patriot of freedom and love and humanity. Please respect the privacy of Diamond's family. Memorial ceremony to be announced. Contribution towards preserving Diamond's legacy are only being accepted at the following link.
Oh, that's sad.
So
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's tragic. I mean, you hate losing anybody, like you said, but that's horrible, man. So here's the thing, and the show must go on. I think it's a great question. Is the White House going to be raided? Is Joe Biden's Rehoboth house going to be raided?
No.
And once again, you shouldn't be okay with that. You should not be okay that Donald Trump was raided or that Joe Biden is not going to be raided. Now, what you're going to hear from the left, you're going to hear this from the left, and here it is. It's not the same thing.
Right. Well, they already started playing that. They started playing that, playing those cards on CBS with the idea that the reason what makes this time any different is because it was self-reported. Okay, fine. I still don't care. I'm still looking for that. I'm still looking for that constant level of accountability, and don't be a hypocrite about it. If you're gonna claim that you think that Donald Trump should swing from the gallows for this, then you need to say the same thing when the other side does it. That's all I'm saying.
And let's go ahead and talk about the border, and then we got Brazil, and then we're gonna pop smoke. So the border is. I was gonna do a skit. I still think I'm going to, because I see Damani do skits all the time, and I was gonna get dressed up and I was gonna put on like a tweed jacket. I like Damani, so I think he sometimes he can be ostentatious sometimes, and I would love to talk to him about it. And so can I. I can be a real dick, but almost to the point of like, you know what? Yeah, dude, come on, bro. I don't know. He goes after some conservative people who are trying to make a living, but he has T-shirts he's selling too, and he sells his time. Come on.
Yeah,
I don't like that. Well, then stop pretending that other people doing it are bad. That bothers me. Yeah. I don't know. And whatever. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I get it. But it just sometimes it just comes off. I want to see him pissed.
Oh God. He would frighten me up.
Well, I know, but you can't always be calm, cool, and collected, man. Sometimes you got to lose your shit. You know, I try to be, and I can't. But I'm just like, I need him to lose his junk once in a while. Just get upset, say the F word for God's sake, so I can trust him. He's a smart guy. But I would love to have him on. He's a good dude, and I like his stuff. You're right. He's super intelligent, super funny. But I was going to do a little skit that was going to be like a news report on the border wall and Joe Biden's visit. And dude, it's ridiculous how bad they just made this whole thing.
Yeah. The
And,
coverage
like,
of that was god awful.
Playing up the fact that, you know, cleaning up the streets, you know, and, you know, see folks, it's working. You know, Joe Biden visits downtown El Paso and shows how much impact he's had in 4 days on the border, you know, and doing this whole thing of how they lie and it's a fallacy. I mean, it's completely a joke. It's completely a joke.
Yeah.
We got somebody calling in. Hold on. All right, caller, where are you from? Caller,
Hey,
what's
it's
your
Antoinette.
Hey, Antoinette, what do you want to talk about, buddy?
Antoinette.
The
Hey,
myth
hey.
and legend. Hey, hey, hey.
No,
wanna
you
talk
guys were getting on Biden's border visit, which I
Yeah.
think was a complete clown show.
Okay.
Did you see the before and after pictures where they
Yeah, we
actually
were just-
cleaned up El Paso?
I just mentioned that, and I said, "Oh my God, look how good his policies are doing after 4 days of caring."
Right.
More like after 24 hours. They got in
Yeah,
there and
well,
they cleaned
it
that
was
shit
4
up
days.
like ASAP.
It was 4 days.
They
Give him credit.
probably had to send down a crew of about 50 people from Waste Management just to prep the site for his arrival.
At
Well-
least, and all on your taxpayer dollar, Leroy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, here's the complete conundrum, is that if you're going to stage prop it, and you're going to clean it up, you're going to stop the border crossings. If you're going to have it look respectable, why aren't you fucking doing that all the time? Well, one of the ladies on Fox, I said, well, you want to know why? It's because they did a forward detail. Secret Service has to go and scope it out. They go ahead and they sew up all the manhole covers. They remove any mailboxes. They vet every building, and they clean up all of that crap. And no cars are allowed on the street. They have to remove all the homeless. You don't think when the president freaking goes down Pennsylvania Avenue that they don't clean all the homeless up? You don't think when they go down to Los Angeles, down the motorcade, they don't clean all the homeless up? This is what the Secret Service knows how to do, man, is they go in and they make the place sanitary.
They're controlling the lens that the world is going to see it through.
Right. So Antoinette, what's up your craw about this?
I'm just saying, doesn't that negate the whole purpose? Because he wants to talk big. He wants to talk a big game about how Republicans are blocking his supposed like border policies or whatever. Oh, it's all the Republicans' fault because we can't pass policy and everything. Well, then he should be confronted by that in his face. You know, I'm sorry. Why don't you go ahead and stroll that back alley there, Joe? Why don't you go ahead and talk to some of these people, and they'll probably, you know, shake your hand and be like, "Thank you, President Biden. We came here because you told us to in the first place."
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just the political theater, and if you have half a brain, and sadly, a lot of America doesn't at this point. I'm on Twitter all the time, and I'm like, how can you people like seriously be this stupid? If you have half a brain, you got to see that this is just political theater right now, and it's all just, you know, it's a.
Well, honestly, though, isn't that what politics is it's the ability to kind of control the narrative, to play up your victories, to win votes, and then to demonize the other guy by pointing out all of the mistakes. I mean, that's kind of what politics is. So I would expect the game.
But you don't cover it.
The game to be played like that.
Dude, they're covering it
Fair
up. There's a
point.
difference.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes,
No, it's
but
not
you're
a fair
covering
point.
it up.
No, Antoinette, hold on. It's not a fair point at all. That's not politics. Hold on. That is state-run media, man. That's wag the dog type shit. What you're doing is you're saying it doesn't actually exist because we pretend it's not there. It's the emperor has no clothes conundrum, that the emperor is saying, hey, I'm not naked. I'm wearing fine garments made out of gold.
Sure.
And all the people are like, yes, Mr. Emperor, you look fantastic. But in essence, he's just buck naked. They're pulling a freaking a deep fake on the American people, dude. That's not politics. That's freaking subversion. That's tyrannical bullshit. I don't understand why you guys said that.
I guess what I'm
Well,
saying
because
is
politics,
I would
politics
That's all.
would be when they spend it, but we used to have real journalists that would actually expose it. And we don't really seem to have that anymore, okay? So it used to be like politicians versus the media. And then you had like Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA got involved. And they started telling the media what kind of narrative to spin and everything like that. So they're all like one of the same arm right now. So politics would have been kept in check by actual honest journalism. And we just don't have that anymore.
Well, he shouldn't have went to El Paso. There's so many. You got Juarez over there. It's a militarized zone. The Mexican freaking military and police have a heavy freaking burden there. It's one of the largest police forces in the United States is on the El Paso border with Juarez. It is effectively defended by water, concertina wire, and it's not an easy place to cross because of the amount of damage that's happened to El Paso. Because of that, you've got tank regiments there, for God's sakes. Why don't you go down to places like that are susceptible, like Laredo? Why don't you go down to the southernmost areas of Albuquerque, New Mexico? Why don't you go down the southern Arizona tip? There are places that are a lot more vulnerable, but of course he doesn't want to visit there, and they're harder to clean up. Yeah. But the whole thing is Joe Biden has had the ability to make this safer by simply not messing what was already in place. But because of his deregulation on what the border was doing and hamstringing the funding and stopping the construction of the wall and not allowing the CBP, letting Title 14 literally float, or Title 42 float, you have a situation where he's creating this drama. He's certainly not going to stop it with a 4-hour visit to the border. Come on.
Right.
Hell no. It was all political theater. And I'll even put another location out there. Yuma, Arizona, where our newly elected governor, Katie Hobbs, decided to go ahead and dismantle the shipping containers that Doug Ducey put along the border. And it's so fucking funny because I see Democrats all day long, oh, well, it was an environmental hazard and it's messing up the ecosystem and the coyotes. Like
people were spraining their ankle when they went over.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
but
go ahead, Antoinette.
We had a temporary fix. And the first thing she does is not only mandate that the proper pronouns be used in schools. This is how she's deciding to start her tenure. Not only mandating the proper pronouns be used in school, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and take those shipping containers away. And somebody had the bright idea, hey, Katie, why don't you go ahead and use some of those shipping containers to house the homeless that keep popping up around town?
Right.
I mean, it's all disgusting.
So, Antoinette, I got to get your take on a couple of things. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on Kari Lake at this point.
Yeah. I still love her. I still think she could have done great things for Arizona. She pushed it. And the greatest thing about her case was it wasn't automatically dismissed. Like the judge in her case actually said, ruled against sanctions against her and her attorneys because he said that her claims were not groundless. She had
the right to proceed with her claims. That's why she wasn't sanctioned and censured. So there's a difference. Well, she has a right. That's the difference.
Well, right, but at the same time, had her claims been completely groundless, they totally would have come after her. I think Katie Hobbs was trying to sue her for like $300,000 or something like that. And so the judge denied that just because he said, well, you know what, there is something here, but she wasn't adequately able to prove that it was intentional sabotage. So that's the thing
is that she doesn't have. That's the only problem I have with it is that there isn't anything there if it wasn't intentional, and proving that the ballot switching of the size of the ballot actually had any difference whatsoever. It was not provable. I think it's important to get the truth. I really do. But I actually saw her last interview with Carrie Lake, and she ain't looking too good. She looks like she's done 4 years as president. She's looking pretty tough. She's exhausted. I don't know if this continues and if it's healthy for, I don't know. I'm kind of like, dude.
Hell, I was hoping somebody would have nominated her for House Speaker.
Oh, so she can't even win a governorship. How is she going to win Speaker?
Donald Trump, he should have thrown Carrie Lake's name in there too.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I think she is an incredible woman. I think she has incredible ideas.
Yeah.
I do like her policies. I did go on her website and read her policies that she wanted to enact for Arizona. And as an Arizona citizen, I was happy with it. A lot of people in Arizona still love her. You see the Twitter ratio on
No, I'm not saying she's not loved. I didn't say that. I'm just wondering when is enough? How long is this going to keep going?
Right.
I think she's going to try to go all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court.
Well, if she goes to that, then she might as well go to the Supreme Court. She might as well go. Might go to SCOTUS.
I think she might.
Yeah, I don't know. Carrie is in here in chat, and of course, I'm saying black, so of course Carrie's saying white. She says, Antoinette's correct. Okay, so the judge said that it's proven, and she has a case. That's not what the judge said. The judge said she has the right to proceed. She can countersue and sue as many times as she wants. They can't censure her. He never said that the evidence was credible. I don't know, Carrie, why do you, God, every time, it doesn't matter what I say, you have to argue with it. She didn't, the judge didn't, I watched the same thing. The judge never said it was a credible case. That's not what he said. He said she has the right to proceed. Go ahead, Antoinette. Right.
And it wasn't credible because she had to actually have to prove intentional sabotage, and intention was actually what that case came down to, intention.
Right. And as we all know, there's no such thing as intent because Hillary Clinton got away with it. She didn't intend to steal and put people's lives in danger. So there's no intent. Antoinette, I'm on your side. I think she needs to continue to argue the point until somebody says to her that this is an unprovable and unattainable situation. She has the right to continue to appeal and to continue to prove her case. It doesn't mean she has a case. There's a very big difference.
Right, and that's fair. But I'll tell you, a lot of people in Arizona are pissed off just because they felt that the election was complete fuckery. All right, so either any way you cut it, what happened in Maricopa County was debauchery. I mean, that is not the way free and fair elections are supposed to be won. So whether there's a case there or not, it still was a shit show of an election, and a lot of people are pissed off about that.
Well, but do you believe that they're focused? Now, listen, I agree. I think it's completely Maricopa County should. I mean, it basically reminds me of Broward County and Dade County, 20 years ago. But all that, what people aren't saying is that, yes, the systems went down for multiple hours, but these are predominantly not heavy Republican areas. I mean, it's okay to sit here and say that. The question is, was there malfeasance? Was it done on purpose? And this is the problem, is you have to prove it in a court of law. And this is the only thing I've always said is you got to prove it. So prove it.
Yeah. And part of the problem is seems to always fall back on intent, right? If I recall correctly, Matt, what's that?
Intent is hard to prove.
Yes, it is. But that's the problem is you don't have to prove intent. You don't have to prove intent in the court of law. You only have to prove without a reasonable doubt that it was actually, that it was done. Ignorance of the law does not presumptive innocence. This is the Hillary Clinton fucking defense, and it drives me crazy. Yeah. Sorry.
I think we're getting sick of it, Matt.
I'm sick of it too. You don't have to prove intent. I didn't mean to kill that person. It doesn't fucking matter. You did. I ran over them 16 times with my my 16 wheeler. Is that I didn't know. I didn't know they were back there. It doesn't matter. You're going to jail for manslaughter.
Right.
Mm.
For my entire childhood growing up, my dad always said, ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance of the
right.
law is no excuse.
That's right.
Always said that. Always.
That's right. Hillary Clinton should be in prison. Period.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. All right. So now that we've got the border out of the way, thank God we did that together, Antoinette. And thank you for telling me. What are your thoughts on Brazil? A lot of people are comparing this to January 6th. Didn't they just win the World Cup? No, that was Argentina. Okay. So same thing. I'm just kidding. So Brazil is essentially rising up. There have been several situations during peaceful protests where the police have gotten out of hand and the state has attacked and violated the rights of people. What are your thoughts? Is this January 6th due, or is this a justified riot in Brazil?
Well, this is not exactly January 6th. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of make that a connection because it was an election and because a lot of people felt their voices weren't heard. And so that's kind of the correlation there. I don't believe it's January 6th, though, just because, you know, the cops, maybe they're doing some stuff in Brazil that's not exactly justified. I haven't followed it that closely, not yet anyway. But as far as January 6th goes, yes, it was a complete shit show. But, you know, I still won't demonize the cops or the Capitol Police that day. It is what it is. And we have to have consistency across the board. Otherwise, we become the hypocrites. So right. I believe, you know, Ashley Babbitt, yes, tragedy, shouldn't have happened, but it did. But, you know, it was justified. And Brazil, I don't really know too much of what's going on in Brazil right now. All I know is they are very seriously pissed off because they feel that their elections are unfair. So that's kind of like becoming like a global phenomenon, right?
Yeah, but this one's a little different.
People feel like our voices are being heard.
Right.
I want to say that two elections ago, one of the geopolitical analysts that I follow, a guy's name is Peter Zehine, he's done multiple videos on this stuff, and he's like, you know, you really need to watch Brazilian politics. It's unparalleled in its drama. I want to say it was either the last election or the one before that. The guy that won, and it was a primary spot too, ran his campaign from his jail cell and still won.
Right.
So you have to wonder about the credibility of the system there at all, right?
Right. What would the tagline be? Because it was riding with Biden. What would it be for that prison? It would be, you know, serving with Bluevin or, you know, whatever. So for the past 10 weeks, supporters of the ousted far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, had camped outside Brazilian army headquarters demanding that the military overturn October's presidential election. And for the past 10 weeks, the protesters faced little resistance from the government. Then on Sunday, fuck around and find out. Now, to Facebook, who has been banning and shadow banning people for discussing this thing, I am simply reporting on what is on the news, and I have went to the most lefty paper in the world, New York Times. Zuckerberg has a subscription to this. So, Herr Zuckerberg, please don't freaking shadow ban me. I'm reporting from the most lefty newspaper possible. Drove a few miles away and joining hundreds of other protesters stormed Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential offices. Did they say, make Brazil great again? Maba. By Monday morning, the authorities were sweeping through the encampment. They dismantled tents, tore down banners, and detained 1,200 protesters. You notice they don't say anything about their overreach with the police firing into crowds and beating people for the last year who have been protesting.
That's not part of the narrative.
I know. Why an encampment demanding a military coup was allowed to expand over 70 days was part of a larger set of questions that officials were grappling with on Monday. Why were protests allowed to get so close to Brazil's halls of power? It just sounds evil, the halls of power. And why had security forces been so outnumbered, allowing throngs of... Because if the freaking American people realized that we outnumbered the United States government by like 1,000 to 1, wouldn't that be interesting? Slavery could have been stopped. The Nazis could have been stopped. Attila the Hun could have been stopped. Alexander the Great never would have won a battle if people would realize that most freaking oppressors are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Go ahead, Leroy.
You know, I always think about the irony that occurs when we start trying to pick apart politics and parties and the size of a state and the tax footprint and the loss of freedoms. And something that I was thinking about the other day was that, in most of these countries where we tend to look at these people as these are all some level of oppressors. So we're talking China, we're talking Russia, North Korea, this kind of thing, right? These are relatively weak governments. Right. These are relatively like their place in the world is tenuous at best. Several of them are like on their way to breaking up as it is. Okay. And they have this tight grip on their general public, so much so that people get imprisoned all the time. To Matt's point, they fire randomly into fucking crowds. They starve people that they don't like. Right. And that's with a relatively weak government. Can you imagine a government like the United States, which is nothing less than something like 50 times more powerful than the Chinese government or the Russian government? Can you imagine if that turned authoritarian?
Authoritarian, yeah.
That is terrifying to me. And I think
I agree, but I disagree because listen, a lot of these leaders that are getting installed. Okay, so my red flag when Barack Obama decided to go on Twitter and say something about Brazil, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, come on. So believe it or not, there is a globalist agenda and like the World Economic Forum, and there's like Davos, and they want to see certain people installed there.
All right, time out. Brazil is a capitalistic country with several different forms of government inside of it. But let's not forget that it's ultimately corrupt. Okay. The Olympics. Does everyone remember the Olympics just a short period of time? Does everyone remember? Okay. Brazil was the thriving. Did anybody
watch the Olympics?
Yes. Well, we did. This was before the lockdowns, but this is when the Ryan Lochte situation where he went out partying the night and they tried to go ahead and blackmail him and hold him and tried to kidnap him. Folks, this shit, Brazil, why are they making it sound like Shangri-La? They're trying to make it sound like something it's not.
Well, they're diverting attention away from China.
Well, I don't know if it's about diverting attention. This country is in a collapsible state. The people are rising up against the government. Whether it's justified or not is of little consequence to me. It's happening. But let's not forget what Brazil has been doing to its people for a lot longer than a year. I mean, this has been going on pre-COVID. This was going on in the Olympics. This was back in 2016. This is not like this government is, completely, innocent in all of this. And everything is like, I don't know, Malaysia or something, or it's, Kuala Lumpur, where the streets are paved with gold. This is very similar to Argentina. This is very similar to what's been going on in Brazil. This has been going on in South America for quite some time. This isn't anything new.
Okay, so what do you know about Bolsonaro? Because everything that I've heard or been reading about him, he seemed like a pretty strong conservative type.
Well, yeah, they called him far right. So
threaten, one that would actually threaten, the systematic way of life over there.
Well, the question is,
what does that mean exactly, though? Because just because somebody says, "Oh, that dude's far right,all right, well,
conservative,"
I mean. Are you saying somebody's far right because maybe they believe
like Donald
because
Trump
maybe they believe in free speech, or maybe because they believe in individual liberties, or because
I'm not defending anybody. Listen, I'm not defending that. What I'm trying to say is that if you are elected out of position or elected to position or voted out of position, your job is to have a peaceful transfer of power, no matter what. Period.
Yes.
End of story. Yes. Don't care. Get the fuck out. Okay.
Right.
Now,
but Bolsonaro, was he the president before him? I mean, I don't think it was like about transition of power. I think he ran and then he lost, and then from what I understand, a lot of the uprising and riots are because the people of Brazil were like, this was our guy.
But right.
Okay.
So your argument is that if you don't win, you have the right to riot.
No, but the dude that won was the one before, right? So I'm asking you like a simple
question.
No,
I'm not even talking about that. What I'm asking you is that if you don't win an election, Do you have the right to riot? That's my question.
No.
No.
Okay, cool.
No,
So
not
now
at
the rest
all.
of it, I don't
But
know.
you can question. You can question, especially
I didn't
if there
say
was
you
some,
can't
fucked up
question.
Maricopa County type shit. Okay,
Oh.
so if there was some Maricopa County type shit, then yeah, you should be able to question your elections without being called a domestic terrorist.
I don't think
one of the
anyone's
things that was
questioning
the best
that.
thing about Congress
Holy
is
fuck.
we saw this debate and everything happen. You want to talk about McCarthy and his 15 votes and everything. It was beautiful to watch. Actually,
Okay.
I think those people put in more work in those last 3 days than they had like all fucking year. And it was great to watch. Like,
Right. We're
I was
switching
really
gears here,
happy
and I
to
don't
see
know why
that.
we're
We need
switching
to
gears.
bring debate
don't know.
back.
Okay, dude, I have literally stood on a pulpit for 6 days and screamed to the defense of 21 people who resisted Kevin McCarthy and the Republican institution machine. Okay, so
Hell yeah.
Okay, so I've already made that argument. I mean, I was talking to Eli through this process. I get it. Yes, what I'm talking about is, are we saying that it's okay to open revolt if your candidate doesn't win?
Of course not.
No, that's what they do.
That's
and
what
like
who
I said,
does.
consistency across the board, otherwise we become the hypocrites. So no, stand true to your morals, your values, your principles, and don't let anybody derail you from that, no matter what.
Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do, because we're all you asked some questions that I'm not clear on. We're going to go to all sides balance, and we're going to look at what's going on in Brazil. Deal? That's fair. And we're going to kind of get an idea of what you're talking about, because my understanding of what's happening is that Brazil was ultimately about, because a leader did not win the election, they questioned the fairness of the election itself. Okay? So we're going to go and look at this. So here are the details. Pro-Bolsonaro protesters stormed Congress, other buildings in Brazil. On Sunday, thousands of protesters of Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, stormed Congress. Is it Bolsonaro? Bolsonaro. Congress and other government buildings in the capital city of Brazil. The details. Bolsonaro, who was in Florida at the time, criticized the riots in a series of tweets that went out a few hours afterwards and denied responsibility. Authorities have since cleared the buildings of rioters of at least 300 people. Whoever did this will be found and punished. Brazil President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Jesus, pick a fucking name. Sorry for using the Lord's name in vain. Democracy guarantees the right to free expression, but it also requires people to respect institutions. Bolsonaro said that peaceful demonstrations within the law are part of democracy. However, vandalism and invasion of public buildings, today's act, and like those practiced by the left 2013 and 17, are an exception. Bolsonaro did not explicitly concede or recognize Lula following the close election in Brazil on October 30th, but he did agree to a transition of power 2 days after the vote. Lula took office a week ago and was in Sao Paulo when the attacks happened. How the media covered it. One more thing. Sources across the spectrum noted that the riots were similar to January 6th, not at the U.S. Capitol, by supporters of former President Donald Trump. Okay. That's why I go to All Sides Balanced, because they give you what's being said, what actually happened, and what the skinny is, and quotes directly from the sources. It sounds to me that Bolsonaro conceded the election, transfer of power happened, and people aren't fucking happy about it. Is that what everyone else heard?
I can get that, and I can also see the parallels because he, like Trump, said, hey, go home, for one thing. He respected the authority of the country, and he bowed out. He's like, don't do this. Right. And you just had a certain subset of Brazilian people, I guess, that were pissed off, and now they're all being generalized. They're all being categorized. Oh my gosh, we got a domestic terrorist uprising.
Right. Now
all of a sudden, it's like, no, it was just a group of fucking people that were pissed off, and they had riots early. Did they have their own form of BLM riots? Is that what you said?
Sure, but the opposing political side is going to use that. I mean,
right, of course, and it sounds
but
very
did they get
much.
That a pass?
Well, hold on. They did pull a cop off a horse and beat him with bats and freaking killed, if I'm not mistaken, beat the shit out of the horse. That's a video that I did see. Well, the horse was a police horse, of course. It was So you're under arrest, fucker. So here's what I will say. It sounds like to me that in 2015, 2017, the left got extremely out of hand, rioted, burnt shit down, just like our side did when they elected a far right supposed Republican / conservative. That conservative left office, and it sounds like a group of an infinitesimal amount of a far right party decided to go ahead and uprise due to some of the treatment that they had for peaceful protests in the previous calendar year. This sounds very much like 2020 January 6th to me. It doesn't. This is what it sounds like. Antoinette, I'll give you the golden microphone. It's exactly like you said. It sounds very much that multiple governments across Western civilization, South America, Europe, etc., are experiencing very fractured lines amongst its populace, and that far right and far left is delineating from the center and creating havoc in multiple areas across the world.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely.
It's all the same playbook. It's all the same playbook. They even wrote about it.
Yes.
They even wrote about
Well,
it.
the moment we tend to think of the left and the right as these unified things, that would be incorrect. There's always fractures within them. And to Matt's point, that those fractures, at least on the far right and on the far left, when they grab their pitchforks and head to the Capitol building, doesn't matter what country it is, it will always be played out as this is a threat to democracy. So,
well, when you use propaganda to stoke the division, to stoke division and hatred, I mean, and that's like what? It goes back to Julius Caesar, divide and conquer. Keep the masses at each other's throats so they don't pay attention to what we're doing over here. So yes, rile the public up, get them pissed off at each other, divide them against each other on race, religion, sexuality, anything that you can throw out there to keep the stupid sheep of the masses divided and distracted, the better it works out for them.
So what you're saying is we need to put a coliseum in the center of Washington, D.C. We need to find the political. Hold on, you got to let me go. You're going to get the political left, and you're going to take them as political prisoners, and you're going to get the political right, and you're going to throw them in the middle. And Joe Biden is going to wear a toga with olive wreaths around his head, and he is going to basically give thumbs up or thumbs down as we go ahead and throw lions, tigers, and extremely irritable pandas against the fighters and chain them, and then have games like the Coliseum. Is that what you're saying we need to do?
I don't know, Matt. Give it 50 more years in this clown world. We might be looking at that.
Dude, why does Clown World only have 1,500 followers, and why do I only have 600 followers on Rumble?
Because they suppress you.
Yes.
Because they don't want your message getting out.
Even Rumble.
Okay, all the way back to Operation Mockingbird.
That really does tell you the audience for which they're trying to advertise to.
Rumble is like Rumble. I can't grow on Rumble. Do you know I'm up to like 1,300 followers on Twitter in less than 42 days?
I think I follow you on everything. So
but can you believe it though?
I do my part.
Why the hell does
I think Shapiro was talking about that. It was like 2 weeks ago. Ben was talking about how he had like I want to say it was something to the tune of 3 million followers, and then the moment Elon open the floodgates, he went from 3 million viewers to 4 million in a month.
Dude, it's insane, dude. Twitter is like my fastest growing channel. I am growing faster on Twitter than Facebook. And dude, like I post something, it's like 78. I mean, you've seen it, Antoine. Tell me I'm lying that it's growing and people are responding to my stuff. What?
I said, yeah, you are.
It's
I see
crazy.
It's like all of a sudden I'm not the only one liking your tweets anymore.
I know. It's insane. It feels so good. I had 72 followers on Twitter. I'm up to like 1,200 and it feels good. And guess what? Instagram, I just broke 500. It took me what, 3 weeks from 496 to 500. I'm like, this is bullshit. There's no way. And the same thing is happening on Rumble. And YouTube is sitting at like 280 something. And I'm like, this is insane. Twitter is going to be my best channel. I mean, it's crazy.
The growth on those channels, it's just not linear. That's the thing. There's definitely a exponential effect as more people start watching. So,
well,
Well,
here's
that
what's
also kind of has to do with AI though too. Like AI, like Elon had a honeypot trap. Remember when he asked if you should step down from Twitter, and it was like tied at 50-50, and everybody started speculating, oh, well, that would be a good way for Elon to get rid of the bots. Because I'm not sure how that works exactly. Like an algorithm just gains a life of its own, right?
Well, here's
and that
the
kind
thing.
of like centers.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that kind of ties on to like AI, and I know they're starting to mess with artificial intelligence and everything. So who's to say that doesn't pick up the algorithm? And are you gonna like beat AI? Like, how does Elon solve that problem?
Well, here's the
I don't
thing:
really know too much about it.
Well, let me explain it to you. The Hodge twins are the first ones to call this out. And several groups, ALX, the Hodge twins, a few other groups were like, wait a second, I just got like 10,000 followers and none of them have pictures. None of them have any tweets. This is like a bot game. And it's right before the Fauci files came out. Now, I went and looked at mine. Now, my followers are all pure. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't have any, like, I've got 2 bots right here, maybe. No, it's Ingrid Scott. She just hasn't changed her picture. This is one of mine. These are dumb followers. But if you look, the people who are following me are all real accounts and they're all quality follows. I mean, it's like this is a dumb listener, Jay. Some of these people are just created their Twitter accounts to follow me, which makes me feel so farking happy.
Yeah.
I love seeing it.
Absolutely.
But by the way, folks, if you haven't seen,
you deserve it too.
Here's the thing. Thank you, Antoinette. Here's this. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I got it. Hold on, Antoinette. You're going to go dark.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen this yet, here's the Hodge twins.
Yeah. Hodge twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The DUM Show and his website. Yeah. Don'tUnfriendMe.com.
Yeah. So anyway, listen.
I love it.
didn't even see that. Yeah, that's cool.
so
I
good.
only know about the Hodge twins because of Steven Crowder.
So you haven't seen that, Antoinette?
Oh. No, not yet.
Oh, crap.
The Hodge twins, well, I follow them, but I don't really see their stuff too much, though, either. So they're still kind of shadow banned, too. Like, I have to go on their page. I follow them, but none of their stuff, like, pops up in my timeline. Like, I get all the fucking douchebags in my timeline. Like that JoJo from Jers and the fucking Brooklyn Daddy Defiant. Oh, my God. I'm like, I've muted them. I've done everything I could, and that shit still pops up in my timeline. So I'm having to go track y'all down to see any of that
I
kind
need
of
a
stuff.
stalker.
I mean, it just...
You need, dude, you need
I
a
do.
stalk. Dude,
do.
I love my stalkers. Like now I've had some crazy ones, mind you. I mean, we literally had to go lockdown here on the Spear household. Here's the thing real quick, folks. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, go over there. It's at The DUM Show. Twitter is actually fun. They're releasing a couple of updates. You're actually going to be able to do longer posts now, much longer, like long form posts. It's the algorithm's working itself out. It's actually quite fun. I'm enjoying Twitter. I'm blowing people up left and right on Twitter. It's a good follow. Come on over and say hi. Second is I'm redoing my website and I'm going to have all my videos hosted on the website from now on. And so if you want to come by and watch any of the longer stuff, it'll all be there. You don't have to participate on YouTube and Facebook anymore. All right. There it is.
Nah.
Okay. Antoinette, I love having you on. You did very well tonight. You did not repeat yourself. You took your feedback. You did great.
Exceptionally well. Yeah.
You killed it. You did great tonight. I love the interaction. I only got upset not upset. I almost put my hand in my head one time when you started mentioning the World Economic Forum and the NWO. But otherwise, I loved your take on everything tonight. You did a great job. You get some applause. Here it is. Are you ready? I'm going to throw you a bone.
Yes.
Here it is.
My applause, please.
Yes. There it is. There it is.
Congratulations.
Yes, Donald Trump came in. Thank you. He's already gone. He's as fast. He's like Dumbledore with the chocolate frogs. He can't stick around forever.
Congratulations.
Oh, you know he's sitting there rubbing his hands together, just waiting for them to raid Joe Biden, right?
Dude, they're not going to raid Joe Biden. Holy shit! Mel just came on. Mel just came on. Mel, we were gonna go. Mel, hold on, Antoinette. I'm going to give Mel the floor. Yes, we love you. Thank you, Antoinette. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to give Mel a few minutes. Thank you for calling, buddy. We love you.
All right. God bless, Sunny.
Bye, Antoinette.
Peace. Dude, she's so freaking. Dude, she has grown so freaking much. Like she's almost ready to come on full time. Like I would like to see her maybe, come on full time because she's getting really she's getting comfortable.
Yeah.
She's cussing a little bit. I'm liking the sauce that she's bringing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, hold on. Let's get Mel on
Would you
here
like
for
me
just
to
a
cuss more?
No,
I'm just curious.
No, you're really good, dude. You're my Donnie to my Marie.
Aw, wait, Donnie or Marie?
Yeah, you're my Donnie and Marie. You're good where you're at. You're like you balance. You complete me. All right, Mel. What the hell do you want to talk about?
Hi, Mel.
Hi, Leroy. I don't think you should take that as a compliment. Matt's last comment.
What's wrong with a couple Mormon singers from the 80s and 70s?
Well, there's nothing, but Leroy doesn't need to be your Marie to your Donnie.
It's sequins sweatpants upstairs.
Yeah,
I can make this work.
Oh no, please! I don't need that visual. Please.
What does he need to? What does he need to? What does he need to be if not my Donnie to my Marie? Now I'm confused.
Well, no, he doesn't need to put on the sequins sweatpants, and I'm glad to see he took his hat off because obviously he was getting rather warm under that after some of the conversation tonight. So I don't blame him. Anyways,
Dude.
I'm really glad that I'm totally astounded by Tony. She grows every time she comes on.
Doesn't she, dude? I mean, did you not see it? I mean, I completely felt it tonight. Like I was like, damn, girl, she's starting to come into her own.
Yeah, and she does her research. She's outstanding, and
Agreed.
she sat in the weeds for a really, really, really long time on this site, and I'm really glad that she's come to her own and finally did that first phone call in and got over the jitters of dealing with Matt Spear because
whatever bullshit. Why does everyone blame?
Don't be rude.
Why does everyone fucking blame me? You're your own person, damn it. I mean, come on.
I agree. I only just wanted to say it. I'm not going to hold you guys up for whatever. There was just a couple of things, that Brazil thing, and the comments about it's somebody on there. I think it was. I'm not going to mention names, but anyways, saying that they don't want to be third world, whatever. I said the world is waking up, and that's the Iranian thing. Now that Soleimani is gone, because he was the one that was whatever. So he's gone. So they're getting more bold. Everywhere is getting more bold to stand up for rights, which is not a bad thing.
No.
Bolsonaro, who is hiding now in Florida, they probably had a hit job out on him before he ran and did whatever, and that's how that whole third world countries, Venezuela, Brazil, Ecuador, all of them, they all still run that same way. They haven't reached the 21st century. They're still in probably the 18th or 19th, 20th century. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. The people are starting to listen and starting to go, we have rights, we have thoughts, we have whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Here's my take on this, Mel, and I'm going to disagree with you, but only to the extent that I think that other countries do, in fact, envy what the United States have.
And they do.
And they do. But I think the main difference is that none of the other governments will ever have the enough to put it pen to paper and say, look, this is your huevos. This is
Wave
your
will
Bill of
splash
Rights.
you, sexy motherfucker.
These are the things that we as Argentinians, as Brazilians, as whatever the F country, these are the rights of an individual that we, the government, cannot take away. I don't think that will ever happen. And so I think that's probably the main distinguishing factor between the United States and the rest of the world. The countries that most violate the individual rights of others would never come up with a document like that.
Well, and then again, I will tend to disagree with whatever, because all these countries, Brazil, Venezuela, Chile, Ecuador, whatever,
Chile.
are probably, I know Chile, I've been there and I love that. I love that country.
Yes.
Anyway, I would say that they're in their political scheme of things, they're about, I'd say, at least 100 plus years behind the US, and even us idiots up north in Canada. We're still a little bit ahead of the curve. Not much these days, but we're still a little bit ahead of the curve.
I get
all
it.
these are, and I still call, they're developing. They've actually now seen what it means to have these whatever. It's going to take them like a gazillion whatever. I'm not going to be around, and neither probably or none of us.
Okay, so hold on, Mel. Is it based on the people or is it based on the government? Who's at fault? Is it because they all have the natural resources? Is it technology driven? Is it government? Is it because the government outsources all of its innovation? Is it because they're outsourcing the highest quality 2% of their people are coming to the United States and leaving? Why are they so behind from a ag, rural technology, and overall governmental infrastructure compared to the rest of the free world?
Because they're smart people who, like Putin and the rest of whatever, have always kept them as subservient. They step on their heads, they push them down, and they don't let them develop. The ones who escape, that come to the States, the US, and to Canada, Britain, wherever, Australia, and get to go to these schools that we all have, that they're all like, oh my God, like, and they're smart people down there. Like,
okay,
they're all not just tomato pickers and
holy shit, Nancy Pelosi, knock it off. Okay, so again, holy shit, Nancy, ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Pelosi just showed up. No, I'm kidding. I love you.
I don't have breakfast burrito and blah whatever.
I know what you were doing. I know. So let me make sure I understand, and then we got to go. What you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that if you look at who indiscriminately owns the most wealth in the most productive society, it is usually the top 2%. However, these top 2% gainfully employ the most people. They give the most to the GNP. They create most of the business in America and other countries. So therefore, they shouldn't be ostracized. They should be celebrated, which I agree, because that's capitalism in a nutshell. However, when you export 2% of your population to be educated and to create business abroad, mainly in the most 9 to 10 prominent, most successful countries in the world, which would be Britain, United States, Germany, blah, 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 blah. We know. Therefore, your country is always going to be behind the 8 ball, because they're constantly cultivating new talent, new science, new actors, new innovators, new doctors, new lawyers, new architects, engineers, blah, 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 blah. So therefore, they are always stuck in a perpetual state of muck. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes.
Great. Leroy, last word. 1 minute, go. Love you, Mel.
God, we covered a lot today. So
holy
folks,
shit, what a great show.
Oh, it's really good. We covered a lot this show. We covered not only Brazil, we've covered what was happening with Joe Biden and classified documents. We covered a lot of what happened on January the 6th and video footage that was confirmed a lot of people had not seen.
If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to anyway. We're ready to get a lot done.
Dude, you didn't mention anything about Japan. Go ahead. Say something about Japan. Anything. Go.
I don't know anything about Japan. No.
Okay. Hold on. Leroy's almost done with his minute. I'm fucking with him, so he's got to finish. What else, Leroy? Go ahead.
No, that's it. It was a really good show. I really enjoyed the interactions between Antoinette and Mel. I think that there's plenty of people here that God, guys, you really do. You have to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And definitely call in. And that's it. That's all I got.
You also need to stop by don'tunfriendme.com and go buy yourself some cool shirts and some coffee and everything else. We're doing great. Go to percivalflags.com. Also, you can now, instead of Percival Flags, go to pfcflags.com. The site isn't 100% complete, but you can check out from it. Stop on by to pfcflags.com. We've shortened the URL and we're making it a little bit more concise. Mel, you got your 1 minute. Go.
I just finally got my coffee after Canada Customs decided that they might have wanted to sample it. So please let your guys know that, yes, I will give a review once I finally get to open it all up. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Don is working. Dude,
Yeah.
Listen, I got to give him love. I mean, he frustrates the shit out of me sometimes because he takes on too much, but the guy's running a one-man show. He's busting his hump. He makes great coffee. Please go buy some coffee, help them out. Help out Percival Flags. PFC Flags, it's almost done, and then we're going to relaunch. We're rebuilding the entire site. It's going to be great. Folks, I appreciate you. Do me a favor. Last thing, the Dumb Nation. If you haven't stopped by the Dumb Nation group, she's getting a little thin in the old cackles. If you could stop by, and if you haven't, it's $1.99. It's a Facebook group. It really doesn't cost hardly anything. You get 15% off the store, but you get to talk to Mel and you get to talk to Leroy and see Isaac's posts, and everybody comes in there and says stuff. Stop on by the Dumb Nation group. It's right on top of the Facebook group. You click on the Dumb Nation group and you can join for $1.99. You should stop on by and do it. Folks, that's all I've got. Veteran Crisis Hotline. Mel, take us out with Veteran Crisis Hotline, please.
Well, I can't read it because it's very, very small. But...
Okay, I'll read the number. 1-800-273-8255. And that is the first time anyone has ever said it's too small. But go ahead.
Well, no, because I'm old. Press 1. There will be...
You didn't get it. You didn't get the joke, Mel. Mel, you didn't get the joke. It was a penis joke, Mel.
It was. And I was avoiding because I got in shit for penis. He
said penis.
He said peen. He said the penis. I can't believe he said it. Oh my God. Go ahead, Mel. Come on, Mel. Veteran Crisis Hotline. What the hell? Get to it.
1-800-273-8255. Press 1. There will always be somebody on the other end to answer. There is no call that will ever go unanswered. There is no crisis that is too small. Your families can call in. You can call in. Anybody, your friends or neighbors. Please, please reach out to Veteran Crisis Hotline. They are your friends, not your enemies.
That's right.
Can I add
You need a
something
swim
to that?
buddy, you need a battle buddy, and now we need anybody. Anybody pick up the phone if you have a vet who's struggling with PTS, anxiety, depression, traumatic brain injury, all very real. Please do me a favor. Give them this number. It's free of charge. It'll never be reported to your duty station. And last but not least, civilians, you can call at any time. You will never, ever, ever be asked if you're a veteran. They will help you and take care of you. Leroy, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, we've been putting that message out every show, at least 2 and sometimes 5 times a week for the last 2 years. I during my commute when I go to work, I flip on AM radio because I'm old, and a local radio station had rebroadcast one of the messages from VA, and during the VA rebroadcast, they had stated that the suicide rate has in fact dropped. So for the last several years, it had been 22 veterans a day. It is now down to 17. And I honestly think that it's due to not only recognition of a problem, but it's also because of shows like what Matt does. If Matt didn't run this show, we wouldn't be able to put that voice out there. We wouldn't be able to rebroadcast and basically say, hey, look, if you're having issues, call this number. And so I look at that number going from 22 to 17. It's still too high, but it's a huge step in the right direction. And I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
And I hate to be a buzzkill, and I'm sorry, But the reason why it's gone down to 22 to 17 or lower is because we've lost so many World War II veterans and Vietnam veterans because of suicide.
That's right.
Please understand, one of the largest wars that was undisclosed and classified as a war in Afghanistan is going to start seeing a lot of veterans who went through that in Iraq, who are going to reach that age, that are going to hit that 50-year-old mark, and they're unable to find jobs because they're considered to be obsolete, and the number will go back up. So yes, it's a wonderful thing, but it's just like abortion. Just because people are not getting married and having kids doesn't necessarily mean that abortion's still not a problem. It has gone down, but that's because people are not getting married and they're not trying to have family. That's a problem. This also is an outlier that can be celebrated, but for different reasons. Let's continue to focus on veterans and do this. I love that, Leroy. I wasn't trying to contradict or argue with you. I was just trying to put it in perspective. Anybody else?
And Leroy, it's sad, but the suicide rate among military veterans in Canada is going up. And yeah, so between your line and our lines and whatever, it's a huge crisis, and it will not go away in the near future. And we just need to keep putting it out there that it's important.
If I can make more bad news for people, if you want to consider this, if you add police officers into that equation and first line responders, that number goes back up to past 22. So it's just, suicide is never the answer. It's the final solution. It is literally the nuclear option when a Band-Aid may do. It starts with conversation. It starts with finding purpose. If you ever need your ass kicked into gear, I'll be happy to be that person for you. I struggle with mental illness every single day, and everyone does. Nobody wants to get up. Nobody wants to get in the fucking shower. Nobody wants to go to work. We could all be considered to be mentally to have issues. It just comes down to having that person who's in your corner. I have a great network because I realize that I have a problem. You can do the same thing. All you got to do is ask for the question. Okay, good. All right, that's it. Go buy something on donutfriendly.com, please. I need money. I'm broke. No, I'm kidding. That's a lie. So
love you,
Mel. Love you, buddy. Bye. Leroy, it's been fun tonight. It's been great to have you. Dude, I miss you. I got your message today. You're busy. You have drill. You're a family man. You've got work. It's never, ever a problem. I enjoy having one of my, I can say my best friends show up once in a while and get to talk to you, dude. I adore you. You have been a rock for me. I don't say it enough. This is your annual kudos. But dude, without you, there wouldn't be this show. You've just been fucking awesome, and I love you. That's it.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's your one time.
I am here for you.
You get it once a year. There's your. You get one penis. That's it. Okay, mine. Congratulations. Good night, dude. Love your balls.
Good night.
Love your balls.
Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody. Listen, hey, thanks for stopping by the Don't Unfriend Me show. My name is Matt Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me, and it's been wonderful to have you here. I know most of my usual regulars are here, but I promise a lot of people are going to watch this over the coming weeks. When you do, please do me a favor. Go to @TheDUM Show. Follow, like, and share on Twitter, on Rumble, on YouTube. YouTube's hurting right now. Go over to YouTube. Help it grow. But Twitter is also, if you haven't been over there, go over. It's a good time. It's fun. You can also follow me a lot. Something I don't talk about a lot is Anchor FM. You can find all my podcasts. Actually, I'm on 14 different podcasts. I'm on Stitcher. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple. I'm on Google, Amazon. I'm pretty much everywhere. iHeartRadio. You can find this show everywhere. And every show we've ever done is actually on Anchor FM. And that is what's great. It's audio only. It's not video. But if you go over to Spotify, I'm actually one of the top 15% podcasts in the world on Spotify, where you can watch all my videos on Spotify. They have, for the last probably 100 episodes or so, they are video and audio on podcast. So go and take a listen and do me a favor. Enjoy that. Thanks, everybody, for being awesome. Continue to share, like, and subscribe. God bless. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.